Hello.
John Bush, coffeeed up, ready to go.
Well, I've only had like one sip. Let me take another one and it'll get me going here. Good morning. Where are you at?
I'm in Los Angeles, your former
Oh,
city.
oh, no, no, former. I'm in Los Angeles. That's my home.
Oh, I thought you lived in Arizona for some reason.
Arizona. No, 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 no.
That's weird.
LA is my home.
Excellent.
LA.
Yeah, yeah.
Like mid-Wilshire area. I live like Fairfax and Pico, down the street from like the Grove and the
Yeah.
museums and stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mid-city? Is that considered mid-city?
Yeah, I think it's called Mid-City area or like Mid-Wilshire. I'm in like a little town called Carthay Square, which is cool. It's a bunch of duplexes from the 20s and 30s. It's a great neighborhood. Right, the Mint is a club bar down the street, right down the street from me on Pico. I played there a few times with my blues country band Electric Spaghetti, which is really cool.
Oh, man, I've been playing that place since back in the days when it was just the one side, like before they built the studio and everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
the Mint's awesome.
yeah, Jed, I think was the original owner.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's I think it's been around since like the 50s and
Yep.
stuff. Yeah.
It's a classic. I've actually done comedy in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, over the last 5 years, once in a while,
Oh,
comedy.
that's awesome.
And
Well,
during COVID, they had a open mic in the parking lot in the back.
that is hilarious. Yeah, there's like the dressing rooms are in the back and stuff. Yeah, well, when you do, if you ever do that, let me know. I'll go watch you.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, I'm at the comedy store, 5 nights a week if you ever want to come.
oh wow, the comedy store is right up. I mean, I just go right up San Vicente. I
Yep.
take San Vicente, which is right up the street from me, and take that right up to the whiskey. So, and the comedy store is a little bit down that way. But yeah, I'll come check you out. I love to. I love comedy.
I haven't seen you since Scott Ian's 60th birthday, which was epic. We were up there just singing tunes.
It was epic, man. I mean, think about it. He did like over 50 songs. It was insane.
Yeah, and Pearl put that amazing film together. And what was just moving was watching the career of Anthrax and Scott Ian and the dream of just, living in New York and then eventually playing Yankee Stadium as the Big Four. Man, that is just epic.
And you really accomplished your dreams right there.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
fortunate. Yeah, for sure.
Now, with Scott, of course, Kiss, a big deal. When you first are becoming interested in music, you want to be a singer and stuff. Who was it for you?
Well, Kiss was one of them for sure. I mean, that was a band that I remember going and checking out the Kiss Alive record at the library at our junior high school, and then going and playing like a couple songs in between recess or perhaps at lunch, of course. But um, that was seventh, eighth grade, I guess, in junior high. Um, Certainly Zeppelin too at the time. But my one older brother used to play the Beatles for me a lot when I was a little kid, like about 5 years old, and he would play old Beatles records and stuff. So I was probably first exposed to music at that point. And my parents had a big giant stereo, one of those big ones where it had the record player in it, but the speakers were big. It was one big contraption and sounded like crap, I'm sure, but. They had some kind of cool Engelbert Humperdinck records and Tom Jones. And I remember listening to that stuff too when I was really super little, probably around 5 or 6 years old, because it was cool. Anything to put vinyl on and put the needle on and play music was just fun. So
Yeah, I think we all grew up the 70s, had that giant console,
yeah,
It's just a piece of furniture.
totally. Totally. It was a
Flip
piece
the
of
top
furniture.
up.
That's exactly what it was. This wooden thing, and it was nice. You put stuff on it. Yeah, it's funny. I remember my mom took me to see Trini Lopez at the Greek Theater back in the day. So that might have been one of my first concerts ever. But I did see Kiss at Anaheim Stadium 1976. Was 76, yeah. And Destroyer Tour. And I was 12 and I was I have a lot of vivid memories of that and walking around with some people. I can't recall who I went with, but some older people and a bunch of people with their face painted. And I was very into it, but I was almost a little bit scared at the same time because it was just overwhelming. And Anaheim Stadium, this big giant stadium, and it was crazy.
Yeah, yeah, man, that's an era for sure. I didn't get to see him till Dynasty,
Oh,
and
wow.
still knocked me out, Cal
Yeah.
Poly, San Francisco, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
awesome.
at what point do you start singing? Is it like junior high bands?
Yeah, this my next door neighbor, his name was David Avila. I should give him props because he was a guy who actually discovered a lot of music and turned me and a bunch of my peers onto it. My guy's insane. And and he was just one of those guys. He was just adventurous when it came to music. And he would say, check out this new band. They're called Head East. And we're like, oh, okay. Check out this new band. They're called Angel. Oh, right. That's cool. They all wear white. Yeah. Check out this band. They're called Thin Lizzy. They're really cool. And he was really adventurous. And so, um, and then he wanted to put a band together. And I said, and he asked me, he goes, would you like to be the singer? And I said, I was 12, 13, perhaps, and I never sang. And he goes, I said, sing, and he goes, yeah, you kind of have this lead singer thing to you. I get that feeling from you. And I said, okay, sure, why not? Let's try it. So then we put a band together and we played the talent show. And at that point, mostly people were just lip syncing to music, but then we actually played with a six-piece band, keyboard player. Joey Vera was the rhythm guitar player. Um, buddy of mine, Channing, was the bass player who I grew up with in El Sereno as well, and um, Mark Patton on keyboards. It was just, I mean, I'm sure we sounded terrible, but, and I'm sure I sounded really terrible as a singer, probably cracking and everything, but the crowd went nuts, and it was a pretty awesome thing to go through and just feel like a rock star when we were 13, 14. So, um, that was the bug. Got bit right there. So it was pretty awesome. We played Rock and Roll by Zeppelin and it Feels Like the First Time, which is kind of an odd choice by Foreigner, which I love Foreigner. Luke Graham was a killer singer, but it was just funny that we play those songs. It was daring to play that too, because that's not an easy song to play. But yeah, it was great. It was awesome. And then kind of went on to, sadly enough, David, as adventurous as he was as a person discovering music, he wasn't the greatest guitar player, and he had this 335 guitar played through a PV, and it just sounded terrible. And he tried to had there was no distortion, and so, anyways, but and then that kind of led to the next sequence was really the first stage of Armored Saint, which we were a different name called Royal Decree.
Yeah, it's interesting because I grew up in the Bay, and the first time I hear Armored Saint is Can You Deliver? And I was pretty blown away by the March of the Saint record. And at the time, I was hanging at the Stone a lot. And then I eventually started booking the Stone and the Omni as a kid.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and had my own bands, but I was always blown away by uh, just how great that record was. And even recently, I heard Can You Deliver on Ozzy's Boneyard? And I was like, oh my God, this fucking tune just kills. At what point do you really go full force with Armored Saint and get a record deal? Because that's very early on, and it was kind of tough for metal bands to get deals.
Yeah, we were when we started really playing the club circuit in LA and kind of really getting our foot into the door. It was we were all about 20, 19, 20, um, late 82 into 83. And we just started playing all the clubs in Los Angeles, and then eventually we were able to make our way up to the Bay Area and play, the Keystone, Palo Alto, Keystone's, Berkeley, Ruthie's Inn, all those places. Obviously, the Stone. Um, and we just kept just kind of doing what everybody probably does and just kind of go and just play as many shows as you can and really just get a reputation. And luckily we had a big friend base. We just had a lot of friends that we grew up with who were into music and they were really supportive of us. And actually we were very grateful because they would come to the shows and they would go nuts. And so, even though it was probably a group of about 5 to 10 guys, they still would go crazy for us. And we were lucky about that because people would come to see other bands and then they come to, and we were on the bill, they would see these people going nuts and going, wow, this band's amazing. And look at this fan base. And so they just got caught up in it. And so we kind of had a quick ascend into the scene because of that. And granted, we worked real hard too, but yeah, we just went for it, and I guess I got a pretty big following pretty quickly, and then Brian Slagle ended up seeing us, and was totally into doing something with us. So we eventually did the Metal Massacre song, and then we ended up doing an EP, and then that kind of, as it for most bands, a lot of bands in our amongst our peers were doing the same thing, and they were using an indie to get to a major, and that was just the bridge, right? So. And that was what we did as well. So Brian discovered us as he's discovered many bands, and then he had to let go, and we signed to a major record deal, which was Chrysalis. Retrospect, maybe that wasn't the best decision in the world, but that's how our path went. And then that led to the March of the Saint record on Chrysalis. But yeah, all the bands that we played with, Rad and Wasp and Steeler and Black and Blue and Pandemonium and just the list goes on and on. We played with all those bands, Great White, and the LA scene was just, it was great. And, granted, it eventually got into, at that point, most of those bands were just rock bands, really. The hair thing, I think, was made out of that. And whatever. I mean, that helped catapult that whole scene, which was fine. And of course, at the same time, you had the Bay Area thrash thing that was happening. So they both were kind of really peaking at the same time in very different styles, but still all hard rock, heavy metal, let's face it. So um, it was it was cool to just play with all these bands, and that's what we did. We played with Metallica and Death Angel as well. So um, it was cool. And the only odd thing sometimes for Armored Saint is that we sometimes never completely musically fit in with those peers. We were a powerful band, but we were heavier than most of the bands from LA as far as the big bands that were going on and playing, selling out clubs and stuff, the bands I mentioned. And then we were powerful and heavy, but we were probably never really a thrash band either. So we weren't really completely embraced by that scene as well. So we kind of had this, I always say we had a little bit of an inferiority complex because we really didn't fit completely in with either scene. That being said, we played with all the bands and did well, but I think that we just didn't benefit from being part of it, and that was kind of one thing that probably held us back a little bit. As time went by, it mattered less, but during that time, it probably, I'm not surprised that we didn't try to be more of either scene because logically it would have made sense. Like, let's be more of a hair band. We had hair, I did then. And then, or let's be more of a thrash band. But we didn't. We kind of stayed true to what our sound was, our style was. And even though it kind of sometimes hindered us, it helped us in the long run kind of just really kind of figure out our style.
Yeah, there was, bands that were kind of in your flavor. Of course, Queen's Reich, Queen of the Reich, the first EP and stuff, and Wasp. The first record is definitely just hard,
No
hard.
doubt, no doubt.
Yeah. So yeah, and then eventually, I think it was more of the industry that wanted to block people in. This is
Yeah,
glam
yeah,
hair metal. This
exactly.
speed metal thrash.
Right, right,
And then you got like Priest who's killing it with Defenders and Screaming for Vengeance.
right.
So it
Yeah,
it's just I mean, you guys got a lot of airplay, which was amazing up in the
We
Bay.
did.
KOME would play Can You Deliver like crazy and March of the Saints. So
Yeah.
we're off, we're going.
That
Was
video was big too. I mean, MTV actually played Can You Deliver quite a lot. So we were really lucky. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like saying, oh, we didn't get the accolades. I'm not saying that at all. I mean, obviously we ended up touring with Metallica and Wasp in 1985, a tour that people still to this day talk about. And then we went out with Quiet Riot and Whitesnake, and Whitesnake were amazing, and so was Quiet Riot at that point. And so we had many opportunities. It wasn't like, we were going just kind of left on the side of the road. It's just that sometimes we didn't really quite fit in with either of the styles that were, somewhat trendy at the time, and they were, let's face it. So,
uh, at that period, I was playing music also, and I would just be out at the clubs every night. Were you hanging out at the Whiskey, Roxy, Troubadour, and
oh
Cat
yeah.
House, all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean the Troubadour was funny because there was a parking lot across the street from the Troubadour was like actually the hottest club at that time in LA. It really was. And which is funny because like it started out as this place where all the folk people played. And now it's mostly just an alternative place. Alternative rock bands and country, bands play. So it's not no metal bands play there at all, really. But in the 80s, it was all metal, and that's where everyone played. So there was a parking lot across the street where everyone parked, and then they would go to the Troubadour, and we would pass out massive flyers. That was our thing that helped really generate a lot of popularity at that time. And I worked at the main office of public storage. So if you know what public storage is, they have storages obviously. And I worked at the main office and I sent supplies to people. That was my job. So I would send out whatever signs and paper clips, you name it. But there was this giant Xerox machine there, huge. And so it was there. And so I had to kind of sneak in when the coast was clear, and I'd go in and make like 1,000 flyers, and it was really cool because Dave Pritchard, God love him. He was a rad artist, and he would make these cool flyers with these rad designs with knights on them and stuff, and weird stuff, Medusa, and it's just weird. He was a zany dude, and he would make these cool flyers. So I would go in and I would just reproduce so many of them, and um, I never really got busted that I can remember. They probably would have frowned on what the hell is this? And so it enabled us to we didn't have to pay for the flyers. So we probably created a lot of garbage in the streets of Hollywood at that time, but it really helped us. So anyway, back to we'd go to the Troubadour, pass out flyers, be in that parking lot. And there was times where that parking lot was just raging with people partying, hanging out. I mean, there was probably countless times I went and never even went in the Troubadour, never left the parking lot. So that was some good times.
Yeah, people don't understand the hustle of flyering, and somebody in your band would get a job, like you said, at some office, or they worked at Kinko's,
Yeah,
or one guy sold toner, and
right.
he had a scam to make flyers because you had to get out there and put them on the telephone poles, and 5 minutes later, somebody covered up your
Yeah,
flyer.
right.
Just total flyer wars. And if
Totally.
with those telephone poles, they'd eventually get pregnant from how many flyers were on it. And then the city of Los Angeles, like once a month, would come with a big giant like sword thing that would cut them off. You
Right.
know? And once in a while, somebody would just light the flyers on fire and the pole would just be on fire. It was nuts, man.
That's crazy. That's true. It was
Yeah.
Fire Wars for a while, and it was people. Yeah, it was how you did it, man. It was at the guerrilla level, and it was cool, and it was a way to just really get your name out there. And I still see flyers, and I guess people are still passing out flyers. And we would go to shows at Long Beach Arena and Irvine Meadows and pass out flyers there too, and at the big concerts and stuff. So not just the clubs. You would go to Iron Maiden when they played Irvine and pass out flyers. As a matter of fact, I think the Anthrax Testament show I saw at the Santa Monica Civic, which was a great venue. I love that place. Played there and saw many rad shows as well. But that Anthrax show was there among the living actually, and I think before we went in, we were passing out flyers there. So
Of course, the history is well known if you are a metal fan that at one point you were asked to sing for Metallica. And I was lucky enough to be at the Fillmore show where you came out and sang with
That was
Metallica
awesome.
for the 30-year anniversary. And what I've always loved about you, John, is there was you singing with Metallica because everybody always thought, what would that sound like? Which is absolutely lunacy to think of James not playing guitar. He's the
Right.
top rhythm guy of all time, man. And what I love about you, and it's very difficult, me being like a former singer, is you sound like you. So even when you were singing with Metallica, 12 years ago, it sounded like John Bush. You weren't doing Hetfield. We all know Hetfield's version and shit, but as soon as you came on, it sounds like John Bush. And it was really cool to finally see that full circle.
Well, thank you. That's very complimentary. Yeah, I think just kind of really just discovering my voice and trying to just put my style was really the main thing I was trying to achieve. Sure, I emulated a lot of people. Certainly, countless hours singing to Phil Mogg and Rob Halford and Bon Scott and um, you name it, Steven Tyler. In the end, I was just trying to kind of figure out my own voice and how it would sound and just make it as unique as possible. So. And back in the 80s when everyone was like, I have a 4 octave range. And so I was like, I don't have any of that. I just have this raspy kind of voice and I just bluesy and I like a lot of old soul music and I use that as inspiration. But it was just about discovering my own style and that was really the thing I just always was trying to do. And it took a while, but I think after a while it finally got there. And then that's really the most important aspect of it. So and it is funny because imagine, I always say that that would have been an enormous amount of pressure to put on me if I was the singer of Metallica. Because imagine James Hetfield not never singing then, because that means that somebody else, unless they would have fired me after one record, like this guy's out of here singing. So, and it was funny because I always say this and I mean it sincerely. James is talk about a guy who's really incredibly gotten better through the years as a singer. I mean, if you listen to Kill 'Em All, and it was cool, it was down and dirty, and he was so young. But you go from that to like the Black Album, and the amount of improvement he made as a vocalist was just amazing. And he's a great singer and has his own, of course, unique style as well, and as a player as well. But just what an amazing singer he became. He really did. So I can't imagine that. Well, it would not even, I don't even know what heavy metal would be if James Hetfield wasn't the front man and lead vocalist of Metallica. It would have been a whole nother world of heavy metal, like scary to think of.
Well, he's another guy that no matter what if he's doing a Thin Lizzy cover or whatever cover they're doing, Turn the Page, Bob
Right.
Seger, he sounds like Hetfield. And I'll tell you, uh, once in a while, I'll try to sing some Hetfield, and I'm like, I can't even fucking do this, the Justice record is one of my favorite records of all time. And I'm just kind of like, I can't do this, It's very unique. No one sounds like him, and thank God uh,
Yeah.
that he stuck with the singing because, man, that Masters and Justice record, the vocals are crazy good. And then, of course, yeah, the Black Album.
Yeah, well, and he became an amazing singer, and I mean, look, everyone loved him on Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning, of course, too. But you could see that you could hear the maturity as time went on, and we were so young, all of us. I mean, so was James and Armored Saint, and all these people were super young. We're lucky because we're a lot older, and we're still around and making music and playing, and we're very fortunate because of it. But yeah, and I'm sure a lot of that was had to do with the fact that everybody started so young. But because we started so young, there was obviously this incredible energy and enthusiasm. But you were still figuring stuff out, not only as a singer but as a player, and the styles they would start to develop and become clearer as you got older. And it was we're lucky.
As you start going, do you realize, oh man, I can sing, but I really need to learn longevity and endurance and start doing some vocal lessons. Does that happen for you?
I took a lot of vocal lessons through the years, and as a matter of fact, I just recently took vocal lessons again. So just more than anything is just about trying to preserve it because it's not easy to do this, obviously, night after night, and on the road, and just trying to stay healthy. And I'm 62, so I'm singing songs. Yeah. It's funny, these Anthrax shows that I'm going to do, those records are 20 to 30 years old. Not to mention Armored Saints, March of the Saint came out 40 years ago. So my voice is different. So now, granted, I sing things a little differently. Um, because I'm more in this kind of mid-range sweet spot, I call it, and it just sounds better there. Plus, I just really can't sound like the guy in 1984 because my voice is just not that high. It's much deeper and lower. But I think it sounds better, actually. I think it sounds warmer, let's say. Um, so I think the key is to just try to get through it and preserve it and do everything you can to just yeah, have the longevity and vocal lessons certainly helped. I had a couple different vocal lessons from people. Um, well, I took some lessons from a guy named Ron Anderson, who a lot of people actually took lessons from. He was pretty happening. Unfortunately, he passed away. Um, and the woman I'm taking lessons now, her name is Ricky Gold, and she's super cool. Her background is in it's classical music, and she's an opera singer, but she's just really hip and cool and understands the rock and roll thing. And so it's really she's just always we're sometimes our hour lesson will be half an hour of us just talking, and it's like, okay, wait a minute, how much is this? Wait, we're just talking here. Great conversations though. It's pretty funny. But I remember back in the day taking lessons from some guy whose house reeked of cat urine.
Oh,
I mean, like overwhelming smell of cat urine. So I'd walk in the door and you would just get hit with it. And then you're over there kind of, and doing these lessons and you could barely breathe because it smelled like cat piss so bad.
oh,
And then I took a lesson from some woman who was cool. I can't recall her name. But she was just bagging on some rock singers, like going, "Oh, Rod Stewart, he's terrible. What a terrible singer." And I would be like, Rod Stewart's cool. Like we have one of the most unique voices of all time. What do you mean he's terrible? I was like, I don't know if I want to keep coming to you because that's what I want to do is just have a unique voice. So I'm not looking to be an operatic singer. I'm trying to have a unique voice like Rod Stewart did. So I don't know, I was kind of annoyed.
well, you know what that is? That's a failed singer, and then they're just angry. And
Yeah.
every person that comes over for lessons, they're just basically shooting down your heroes, and you're like, oh, hey, you know what? Maybe you're the loser, you know?
Yeah, that's t pretty much right on the money, because she's giving lessons, so maybe she was struggling a little bit in her own career. But yeah, it was weird because, I mean, Rod Stewart, maybe people don't immediately think of John Bush, inspired by Rod Stewart, but come on, the faces were killer and early Rod was great. And I
Oh,
mean, when he got into all the kind of the torch songs, I wasn't really into that, but I would agree. And he's still going, Rod is, and he's amazing. I mean, he's way older than me. I know that. So, and he's still singing, which is remarkable. And his voice, screw her, because look at that guy. That guy's still singing.
yeah.
So,
It's interesting. I just saw The Who on Friday. Roger Daltrey sang on one of the Anthrax records that you
yes, he
did.
did.
And, you know, I'm so used to legacy act singers just being awful or lip syncing or, just not there. And he comes out, it's out here in the fields, and the audience is leveled because their bar has been so lowered. And he just comes out and goes, "Here you go, check this out. I'm 82. I'm at the Hollywood Bowl 2 nights and I sound good. I look good. It was mind blowing.
I heard Roger sounded great. I heard he altered some things, but it sounded good what he
Yep.
did.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine invited me to the show, and I was kind of busy that day, so I ended up passing. And that was the day that Tyler came out too. Did you go to
Yeah.
that? And And then I talked to a couple other friends afterwards, and they were saying to me how great it was. And I was like, man, oh, what an idiot. I totally screwed up on not going to that show now. I'm so pissed. Everybody said the Who was killer, and Roger was awesome, and Tyler was awesome. And they played like Combination, which is a really deep track on rocks. And I was like, "Urgh, I screwed up. So I'm really annoyed by that.
Yeah, I went on the Friday. I was a lot like you. I said, "Yeah, I saw them 6 years ago. I'm good. They were great, but I do comedy, so if I'm booked, I'm not going to something else over
Yeah.
what I do." But it turned out my spot was at 10:30, and I go, you know what? I got to go see Joe Perry Project. I get there early. I got the fucking Offspring. Joe Perry Project only played one fucking night, so now I'm like, God damn it. And I'm kind of a little bit bummed. But then the Who comes on, and I go, I can't imagine if I would have missed this. It was so inspiring between that and Paul McCartney going out 2 nights at 81 years old to see Oasis. I go, these guys are living, man, you know?
Wow. So Paul McCartney was at both Oasis shows?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I love it.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I screwed up. I'm really pissed at myself that I wasn't. I was busy and I was kind of preoccupied with something, but I should have said I'm going because. And then the guy who invited me, he had these awesome seats, so I really screwed up. I didn't know the Offspring played one night, but
Yeah.
yeah, I and then Slash came out and
Yeah.
yeah, and the song choices. Oh, I guess Tyler didn't sing combination. I guess it was Chris Robinson, right? And
Yeah,
I didn't even
Chris
know Chris
Robinson.
Robinson was playing with Joe Perry, which I was like, what? Which makes sense because they were supposed to tour together before Aerosmith canceled that tour. Which, I love the Black Crowes and Chris is amazing. So I need to YouTube that because I want to hear that version of him singing that song. I'm sure it's killer.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're here to talk about you're going out and doing some shows as the Anthrax era that you sang on. You sang on 4 records, and of course, the Sound of White Noise to me is a fucking beautiful masterpiece of metal. And it was totally a different time for Anthrax coming off Spreading the Disease and Among the Living, which I think are two of the greatest metal records, up there with Death Angel Ultraviolence, Exodus Bonded by Blood, Metallica, Lightning Through Justice. These are my metal records, Screaming for Vengeance. But that Sound of White Noise record comes out and it's insane. It's kind of weird. Wait, what happened to Joey? Run me through how you get a call and do you audition? Did they have other people also, or was Scott like, you're the guy?
Well, I don't know that for sure, to be perfectly honest, but I got a call from John Zazula, well, his assistant, which was the band's manager at the time and Megaforce record founder. And the crazy thing is John Zazula had called me like 10 years before that to talk to me about Metallica. So here I didn't even probably speak to Johnny Z in that 10 years that were between those times. And then all of a sudden I came home from my messenger job because that's what I was doing. I was a messenger, which I love. I always say I love that job because I was able to drive around the city and deliver packages, but I would write a bunch of songs while I was doing it. So it was actually a very productive opportunity for me to have that job. I wrote most of Symbol of Salvation in my car doing that job, so it's pretty funny. But yeah, I came home from my job and I went to my answer machine and hit it, and there was a message: John Zazula would like to speak to you. And I'm like, John Zazula? What? And then I knew what happened with Anthrax and Joey, so I was like, oh boy. I wonder, is this that? So then I called and then he goes, I didn't talk to you in 10 years. And guess what? I'm calling and I'm calling you for the same thing. And I said, wow, okay. So it's pretty funny. I think I was still a little bit uncertain when I got that call because there's a weird kind of loyalty to Armored Saint that has lasted for years. Um, kind of this blood thing that just is deep. And, I think anybody who, my feeling at that time was if I leave this band, I'm going to feel terrible about it. And I don't know if I could do that. So I was really uncertain and just not sure about. about leaving. But then I spoke to a couple different people, Johnny and maybe a couple of friends, and they were like, dude, what are you doing? And I was like, yeah, what? Right. I know what what am I doing? I have to do this, right? And not that I didn't want to, but I mean, I was just like I said, had some uncertainties. So then I was like, okay, let's talk about this. So we talked further, and we ended up having a couple jam sessions. And then the next step was, okay, let's see if we could write some tunes together. I mean, that's the most important thing because I wanted to be part of the whole writing process. I didn't want to just come in and go, okay, tell me the songs and show me the parts. I wanted to be involved because Insane, I was the key lyricist and singer and melody creator and stuff. So, and they're like, yeah, man, we want you to be part of that. So I went to New York and we started working, and I think we wrote only in like an hour, as with the thing I always tell people. And they obviously had the music, but Scott had a couple vocal ideas and maybe the chorus, and I started working on a verse, and the next thing you knew, we had the song done and we played it. And they had already sent me the music to that song, and I was no, thinking this music sounds really cool. Like it just sounded very forward thinking, for what they did and for what everybody had done at that point. Um, and I thought this is cool. And then once we wrote it, it was like, wow, this is really cool. And um, yeah, it was just kind of you couldn't deny it at that point. There's something here. So that was it. I had to come back and tell the guys Insane that I was moving on, and it was pretty difficult. And not everyone was too pleased, obviously, and I felt terrible too, but it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, rest in peace, Dave Jordan. I had him on years ago, which uh, which is really weird. He passed away not too long ago, and I just felt like there was not enough glory uh, on this man. Like it was a mega loss to the music community from the body of work that he had done,
Yeah.
especially in that run of like
Yep.
Janes and Alice in Chains and all.
Offspring.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, and then he does Sound of White Noise, and it's this perfect, uh, you know, it's perfect timing of kind of like Anthrax had been speed metal, then they had mixed it up with some hip hop, and they got into the knot era and all that. And now here's a refocused, a new record deal and everything. You guys dropped the record. The song's getting played like crazy only, and you go out on tour. What is that like? Because I've had a lot of people on, even like Jakey Lee, What is it like each night as you're up there? Are you getting some fuck yous or where's Joey stuff or what's going on?
Most of the people were pretty embracing of me, even if maybe they weren't the biggest fan of what we had done at that point. Because again, you had this new record uh, with all the pre-catalogs, the catalog stuff that was prior to it. So you had all these countless records before with all the ones that you mentioned. Um, the body of work was already very strong, and so we're hearing this new record, and then I would sing a lot of those songs. Obviously, the majority of the songs, because we only played, well, yeah, we played a lot of songs from Sound of White Noise on that album, but on that tour, but we also play a lot of old songs. So, I never really felt that I didn't have the support of the fan base. To be honest, I do remember one specific show in Poland. It was
Oh,
on Stomp tour, and we had never played there. The band had never played there in the history, so we played the show in Warsaw. And it was just off the charts and crazy crowd. And this one dude was just flipping me off the whole night, and that was the one and only time I remember getting that. Um, and of course, there's 1,200 people going nuts, but you're focused on the one dick, and then I just try to ignore him and try to ignore him. And then finally, at one point, I just couldn't do it anymore, and I was like, "Fuck you, man!" I got in his face, and but whatever. I mean, that's it. What are you gonna do? It's funny, of course, in retrospect. But yeah, I never really felt, even if people inside weren't the biggest fans of what I was doing at that time with the band, I never really felt it actually. And the band was super supportive of me. So, I just kind of said, let me go on and do it. I have nothing but the most respect for Joey Belladonna because he has his own unique style and voice. And And obviously he had created a lot with the music and songs that he was part of. So it wasn't easy to replace him. You're replacing, kind of a rock legend here. But you got to just go and do it and believe in yourself. And that's what I did. So, and the album helped a lot because Sound of White Noise was just really critically acclaimed, and a lot of people were really into it. And again, it was 93, so you were in the 90s now, and it was different, and it was a change of scene and a change of the guards a little bit, and then we were embracing that. I don't, yeah, it was funny because sometimes when I was in Anthrax, there was always this kind of tendency to say, "We're the same band, we're the same band," and it was because it was the same guys, with the exception of me. But I think there was this kind of change of sound a little bit, especially when you change singers, and so we were battling that a lot. So not only sometimes are you battling against your old self in the, well, not only are you battling all the other bands that you're competing against, but you're also kind of battling against your own past a little bit. So it's hard for bands that make a big change like that for singers, Sabbath, AC/DC, Van Halen, just to name a couple. It's changing singers is going to usually have a change of sound in the band, and so you have to just kind of rally around it, and at least the band did. They were very supportive of me, and that helped a lot.
Imagine if Sound of White Noise came out and there was no history with Anthrax and you were called something else.
Yeah,
I think that that record would have been considered a juggernaut of the era, because, you got kind of like Helmet at that time.
yeah,
And
cool
it's,
band.
yeah, yeah. And there was kind of these different sounds going on, and people were really open. I mean, imagine if you were something else like Mountain Men or whatever, some band, and then you're on Lollapalooza, people would be losing their fucking mind over Black Lodge and, all the records, the songs on this record.
Well, that's an interesting perspective, and it would have been cool to kind of see what would happen with that. And I agree with you. It would have been kind of fun if it was a brand new band. Who knows? It could have been way more successful, perhaps. You never know. Or maybe less because you're also a
Yeah,
new
right.
band, so you never quite know. But because obviously we have the history there, so that helped tremendously. Um, but yeah, it's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, yeah. If you guys are a fan of the show but not have ever checked out the era with John Bush, it's a must check out, because there is some, and it's really, really kind of like super hard rock is what I would call it, a lot,
Well,
a lot of that era.
yeah, I've been practicing the songs obviously to relearn them and stuff, and there's just some really great tunes. There's some really great songs from all four of those records, and they're all a little different. And I'm really excited to go out and play these tunes live and have people hear them for the first time in a long time because people probably haven't heard some of these songs in, again, some 10, 20, 30 years. So it's going to be really exciting to play some of these tunes live and get people's viewpoint on it and see what they think. And yeah, I'm really fired up about it. So I'm doing a lot of work. I'm prepping a lot for singing these tunes because, it's like I said, some of them are 20 to 30 years old, so it's going to be challenging, but it's going to be fun. I've been practicing hard on them, and there's some really great songs.
Now, there's a thing rolling around the press a couple days ago that Scott called you to see if you need a third guitar player. Is that true?
Well, it's funny because my wife showed it to me, and I was like, "Oh boy," because like you know how it is with press. They take the one headline,
Yeah,
and then
clickbait.
yeah, I was in. I was like, "Oh boy." I mean, so we read the article, and I mean, it was everything that I said. So I didn't say anything that I couldn't stand behind. I hope he wasn't like, "What?" Um, but yeah, it was a conversation we had, and like I said, we were kind of joking about it. But he was like, I'd be into it," but then he has a conflict with the show in LA. Um, but I mean, I was like, that's why I led to like, hey man, you guys could do. And I went out to dinner with Frankie actually not too long ago too, and he's really excited to come out and play a couple tunes as well. And my whole theory is like, you could do as little or nothing as much or as little as you want or nothing at all. So there's no obligation. I mean, I did this because I wanted to do it. I mean, I that was the main inspiration and catalyst behind it. So, but of course, they're their songs. You know, it's those are Anthrax songs, and they wrote them as well. So, again, the door is open or not open. I mean, well, the door is open. Whether they want to or not is up to them, and there's no obligation. And either way, I'm excited to play and do it. But yeah, it was funny that that headline came out. I hope he wasn't annoyed. I haven't heard from him. He didn't send me a text, go, dude. And again, when I once we read the article, I said everything that was the truth behind the conversation and stuff. So I mean, I would be stoked to have Scott come out and play if he wants, three songs, five songs, 20 songs, whatever he wants to do. It's up to them. Same with Frankie and same with Charlie. Or just come and watch, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, I'll be there at the whiskey for sure.
Cool.
Run me by what's the you've got, had a long career in music, of course, but you've also had this jump in on voiceovers and stuff. Has that been your bread and butter for basically work?
No, not really, actually. It was great in like for about 3 or 4 years, I was the tag voice of Burger King, which I guess that's my legacy at this point because people ask me about it a lot. And it was awesome. It was great and very lucrative. And it was cool during when the King was in his heyday at that time, and they made some really quirky and just crazy commercials with it. And it was a cool ad agency that really took a lot of chances with doing weird stuff. And, I think Burger King was just red hot at that time. Then they fired the ad agency, and when they did that, then basically I got ousted. And it was a sad day because I knew when that those checks were not coming anymore. Um, but yeah, I love voiceover. It's awesome, and I've been doing a bunch of auditions still, and it's just super competitive. So
Oh, it's
you just
brutal.
like it's just yeah. I mean, I do a bunch of stuff, and I just the other day I was watching football game, and the Ram commercial came on. I was like, I audition for that. And then I was watching the movie, what the hell is it called now? Shoot. The one with Demi Moore that she got a lot of accolades for. Um, the Substance,
Oh
right?
yeah.
The Substance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was a cool, weird movie. I enjoyed it actually. But then there's this part in the movie where the person's talking about stuff. I don't know, he's her voice, not her voice, but I don't know. Anyways, you know what I'm kind of talking about. It was the voice in the Substance. It was the voiceover part. And when my wife and my daughter and I were watching that movie one night, and all of a sudden that voice came on, and I started laughing, going, "Audition for this?" And they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did this part. I auditioned this part." And they're like, "Wow!" And so we watched the movie. And then afterwards, I came to my computer and I found it. And I put it on, and there it was my audition for that voice in the Substance. And I was like, man, my part was better. I
Oh,
did it better than that dude. So I was like laughing, and there, my wife and daughter were cracking up. But yeah, it's just because it's just a really competitive world. So when I tell my voiceover agency, I'm like, look, when you market me and when you send out my auditions, don't say I'm like an actor because guess what? These guys are better than me and they will crush me. But you got to say, this is John Bush. He's a guy in heavy metal and this is his thing. And I go, that's my angle. So when you sell it, you got to sell it that way. Because, I'm amongst, my wife's a casting director and she casts commercials and I work with her and I help her and I assist her and I do various things to help her and another woman who's a good friend of ours who actually is a very successful casting director and does all the progressive spots. And so I help them and I work with them. That's kind of my day job sometimes. And when I'm home, and so I'm around actors all the time, and it's funny. They're great. They're amazing. I know how good these actors are and these voiceover people are, and it's a tough business too, man. There's a lot of feast or famine in that world, and I respect them. And um, there's a lot of parallels with the music business, obviously. So I give them nothing but props. But it's funny, like if for some reason it's coming around more now, because for the longest time I'd be at work and I'd just be downplayed and just kind of working. And And nobody really knew, but all of a sudden it's kind of come out like, wait a minute, you have this career, you're this guy. And I was like, yeah. And then so like some people have kind of figured it out now and they're like, dude. Then, they look at what I've done and they trip out. And I was like, yeah, but it's cool. It's a cool vibe. We have a cool little home casting studio and it's like our mom and pop thing. And like I said, I just like being around that world and it's just all creative, even if it's commercials and there's some cool creative commercials and that's just our world. So it's funny.
Yeah, when I first moved to LA, I did 4 voiceover commercials right away. And I go,
Which ones?
I did a Diet Dr. Pepper.
Nice.
Yeah, Diet Dr. Pepper. I can't believe it's a diet. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. They had me do like a country one, a rock one.
Wow.
And then the guy goes, "Can you do reggae?" And I just said, "Yeah," just so I could get a third check. And I do it. And he goes, "You can't do reggae." But yeah, I did that, and I did a Heineken one, the Brad Pitt
Rad.
Super Bowl, and I did California avocados.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm
How
thinking
long ago? When was these?
this is 20 years
Oh,
ago,
wow.
and since I've been trying to get a voiceover agent, and it's funny because monthly people go, "You should do voiceovers." I go, "Oh yeah, you think? Yeah, yeah, fuck yeah, I've been trying." I mean, I've gone to some table reads for, animation shows. Man, it is cool to watch these guys around the table doing their voices.
Oh, yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
smokes. You're just looking at him like, I said, look out. I don't care what you said, and you're watching these guys and they're just humans around the fuck. And then, like the person that does all the voices for Simpson, there's one guy that does 7 of them.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Hank Azaria does a bunch of, he was amazing on The Simpsons. And
Amazing,
yeah.
amazing.
And
Great.
I mean, it's funny. We've been watching. My wife and I have been watching all the Beavis and Buttheads. All the more recent ones, um, and then the ones from a few years back. And one of our greatest memories is when me, Scott, and Charlie actually went in and we did the scene that became on the record on the Beavis and Buttheads record. We did that little prelude to it where we're talking with Mike Judge and well, he's Beavis and Butthead, and we're talking about the photo book, which is a true story, and being in the studio with Mike Judge and just watching him do those voices, and we were just our jaws were on the floor, man. It was insane. So he's pretty
Yeah,
special.
there's an amazing clip of him getting interviewed by Letterman, and Letterman's asking him, how he comes up with the voices, and he's just sitting there in the chair, and he just starts doing Beavis and Butthead, and you're just like, he's like, well, Beavis is just kind of like, and it's wild to watch him because, you can do great voices, but to create a character voice,
Right.
is a whole different dimension.
Totally, totally. Yeah, it's incredible. He's a really talented guy.
Before we get out of here, I know I'm a huge Huey Lewis fan, and I,
Bay
uh,
Area,
oh God, man, I mean, just sports record, it's just
great
masterpiece.
album.
Yeah. You were in the video. Um,
Hard
uh,
rock and roll.
yeah, only rock and roll, the limo scene. How did that come about?
So we were obviously on Chrysalis, which was the same label, and we were just about ready to release our album. And our A&R guy, Ron Fair, who's an awesome guy, it's still to this day we see Ron, and he's a big supporter of Armored Saint. And um, he just pitched it. He said, "Hey, we got this new band. This guy, he's a singer in this new band that we just signed, and they're putting out a record, and they're from LA, and they're part of the scene. Put him in the video because there was a clip. They were gonna guy getting out. So." I wore all my armor that I was wearing on stage back in the day. They certainly teased my hair up a lot, and I had a ton of makeup. But I mean, I was like, I'm doing a video to do what you want with me. So, and then I get out of the car, and then the chick gets out behind me and shakes her butt, and it was that filmed right at Gazzari's, which was on the Sunset Strip there by the Rainbow and Legendary Club, and it was cool. It was funny. It was cool to be part of that, and all the guys I hung out with them for a few hours and they were nothing but cool and great. And that was a great album and great band. And people don't know that Huey Lewis actually played harmonica with Thin Lizzy. You know, he's got like a cool history of rock and roll before that. And yeah, kudos to them. They had a really, really successful few years there, and they're still touring and playing. And great guys, really great. So it was fun
Yeah.
to be part of that.
All right, so give the rundown. You got 3 dates booked. Are you only doing three or what's happening?
With John Bush singing the songs of Anthrax are only three for now. So wanted to just kind of put my toe in the water and see what happens. And that's the Whiskey, December 13th here in LA. St. Charles, which is outside of Chicago, the Arcada Theater, which is an awesome venue. Played there a couple times with Wasp recently, and it's a killer venue, and crowd goes nuts. So that's the 18th of December. And then the final show, we had to play New York, so we're playing Racket, which is right there, the old Bowery Ballroom, and that's we played there with Anthrax back in the day, and that's on December 20th. So those are the three shows for now, and looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
I'll be at the whiskey for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Look
I
forward to
gotta
seeing
go
you,
down.
brother.
Yeah, yeah. Before we get out of here, are you into comedy at all? You watch
I love
stand?
comedy.
Yeah,
I
who
love
are you
comedy. I
into?
want to come see you perform. Yeah, for sure.
Anytime, dude. Anytime.
Okay.
Yeah. Who are you
Yeah.
into?
Well, who am I into now? I probably don't know for sure, to be honest. I'm probably a little bit removed. You know, it's kind of like music. I want to respect new comedians, but I'm still, a fan of the old days. So, I mean, Sam Kinison
Of
and
course.
obviously and Dice are two of my favorites from back in the day. But yeah, I always enjoy going to see new comedy shows at the Improv and Comedy Store and Laugh Factory and here in LA and
Yeah.
whatever I can do to, that I know that's a tough world, obviously. It's, again, very parallel with the music business and a lot of feast or famine. If you break through and then you end up getting a TV show and then you become Jerry Seinfeld. But it's not easy. Everyone doesn't get that chance. So,
No.
um, yeah, so I want to support comedians because I know it's a tough world out there. So
I
um,
know Dice is gonna headline the store in a few weeks. If you
oh
want,
really?
yeah, let me know. He's doing the main room.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you going to support him? Are you going to
Oh
be
yeah, yeah. We can go together.
are you going to play that night?
Oh, I don't know, but I will be down there,
Oh,
so if you want to come hang, let me
well,
know.
dude, I would really, well, as long as I'm in town, of course.
Yeah, of course.
I'm
Yeah.
going on tour, but yeah, I mean, I'd be over the moon on that. I remember seeing Sam Kinison at the Comedy Store. A friend of mine, Dave Plastic, who was a good friend of his back in the day, he was a photographer and in the 80s, took a lot of amazing photos of bands through the years, and we partied pretty hard back in the day, and Dave and Sam became friends, and so he would call us on a whim going, it's Monday night and Kinnison's gonna like try out some material and no one's gonna know and no one's probably even gonna be there. So you should come. And I'm like, all right. And we saw Kinnison a couple times in that setting and it was pretty amazing. So
Yeah.
that's it's cool. It's like going to see, the Foo Fighters, play at the Viper Room on a Tuesday unannounced,
Yeah,
it'd be
yeah.
awesome to see that, so.
All right, we'll get my info from the guy
I'll
and
get it from John. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. And please, keep in touch. And
yeah.
yeah, awesome, dude. It would be amazing.
All right, everybody, go to the shows. There's three of them. So if you're in the Los Angeles area or Chicago or New York, you've got to go see this. This is a mega catalog of amazing tunes, and it's a great night of metal for sure. Thank you for doing the show, and
Thanks, Dean. It was great chatting with you. This has been an awesome interview, and
yeah,
thanks for having me.
yeah, yeah, and it's really good to see you, man. Thank you so much.
You too, and good luck with all your career and everything you're doing, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.
All right, brother. See you
Okay.
later.
Okay.
Bye.